Hi fam, how are you doing today? I hope that your day has been amazing so far. So today I thought I'd come and share some tips with you from this book called The Third Door by Banayan. I hope that I got the pronunciation right. And I started last night. My brother sent it to me. It's really been a good book so far. I'm only on the first or second chapter, but even then I've had some lessons that I thought I'd share with you. So let's dive into this. And so I think that starting off, the first thing that I got from this book is it's an unconventional book, right? It's a book about somebody who was ready to go outside what society thinks is normal, right? Because this story started, and then this gentleman Alex, who is Persian Jewish, his parents wanted him to become a doctor. And I know that if you've read anything like around the Jewish, I've read the Jewish phenomenon recently, and it really speaks about how much Jewish people value education, right? So his parents wanted him to be a doctor. And then one day he was in his dorm room, and then he just was reflecting upon his journey in med school so far, and he was thinking that it's not really working, it's not really doing it for him, right? And so he wanted to go on a different tangent, and he started to think around business, and he started to wonder how people like Bill Gates, people like Steven Spielberg had made it to where they'd gotten. Then one thought that came to him was that, well, if these guys, if these men had gotten somewhere, they probably would be best positioned to help him to get to where he wants to be, right? And I think that the first lesson I got from there was that in anything that we are doing, I think that by and large you've come to learn that it's better to go to the people who have the right information and then get it from them, right? And so he said that he set off on a mission, and this mission was that I was going to go to these people who had made it in their industries. I was going to ask them the answers and then ask them how he and then his peers could also make it that far in business, right? And then create that phenomenal income, create that phenomenal impact in business. So he sets off on this mission. Now, one thing that he realized, right, after defining his mission was that he didn't have the money to do it, to go out and then go and meet these people, travel across the US and go and meet these people, right? And so he decided that he was going to get some money. So to get the money, he said that he was going to go on, he thought that he was going to go on to this particular show. It's called The Price is Right or something. And people who go on that show have the chance of winning some money. So he thought of going and then win some money to fulfill his mission. And so he set off on the journey towards the show. Now the show was the very next day, right? When he chanced upon it, the show was the very next day. So that night he sat up googling, he stayed up and then googled how to get onto the show, right? Like how to get onto the audition. And so what he did was that the next day he went to put his knowledge into action, and he went there. There's this person who was in charge of auditioning people, right, and then putting them on the show. So he went there, and then when the person came to see him the first time, he wasn't really too impressed with him. Nothing really stood out about him. So he didn't ask for him to go onto the show, right? And then when the man was walking away, he did something to draw his attention because he knew that that was his chance. This was the man who had to give the nod to get him on the show. So he did something the second time, didn't work. And then the man was walking away, and then he called him the third time, he called his name loud. Then he came back and he said something about the scarf which was around the man's neck, something funny. And then the man finally gave in and then gave him the chance to get onto the show. And I think the life lesson there is that persistence. Alex decided that this is a great opportunity for him and he's going to take advantage of it. He's not going to let it slip him by. So he was really persistent to get the man's attention. And so he got it, and then he got onto the show. When he got onto the show, when he entered the room, like where the contestants, were sitting around waiting for the show to start, they came to pick their phones. And at that moment, he realized that, okay, so he had Googled how to get onto the show, but then he hadn't Googled how to actually play the show. Now, this is a show that he had just watched passively a few times, right? So he knew that he could win money, but he didn't really know how to do it. So there's this lady came to sit by him, and he asked her like how he started to ask her how he can win, like what are the things, how does the show work. So after the lady gave him some information, he went around to ask his fellow contestants, asked them, what do I do to make the show work, what do I do? And I think that that's another lesson, that if we don't know how something works, right, we should go in and seek information from those who know, because he assumed that once they were there, they probably watched the show for years and then had some information. So he went on, he kept on asking for information to the point that when he was going to either the semi-finals or the finals, he actually had to ask the show host for some information about how to play the next round. He was that determined about getting the money. So he won the show, he got the money, and then he was thinking to himself that, okay, so now I can go ahead and fund the mission. But then he hadn't explained to his parents that he wanted to major in business and then not in science, because he really wasn't feeling medical school, right? So he wrote an email to his parents first, and then he went home to see them. So he had to face the situation and then tell them that this is the case. He didn't really feel like, and you know, his parents were so disappointed because, of course, as I was saying, Jewish people really value education. I mean, I think all our parents, right, they really want us to take that's approach, right? And of course, they'd feel that they put so much investment into our school, into education, which I'm not saying is wrong. I'm just narrating the example, right? And so they wouldn't want us to just quit or just to move onto a different tangent. So he got the help of his grandmother and was finally able to convince his parents. And then what he did next was that he set up a workspace for himself. So he went to his mother's office and then found an old space. He set it up, he cleaned it out, turned it into his workspace. And then I think for me, a key lesson from there is that if we want to like really work, really get into that groove, really get into that vibe, and then know that this is our space, this is our workspace. It's key to try and then find something that works for us, a workspace that works for us, something that we can start with. I mean, it doesn't have to be like perfect or like all set up or that. Something basic that we can start with works, and then we finish it as and when we go on, just so that when we sit down, know that our brain is tuned towards working towards our goals, right? So he set this up. Then he called a group of his friends and then asked them to come over and then share with him the areas which they feel they would like to learn more about. So he said that, okay, so for instance, I'm going to interview these millionaires. Which millionaire would you like me to speak to? And then what do you think you'd like to learn from them? So then his friends, I think called about 5 or 6 friends, they suggested different names and then he noted them down. And so I think the lesson there is that yes, if like it's good to see different opinions, of course, only when people can contribute to the discussion at hand. If they are not going to contribute anything positive to it, or are not experts in that area, then maybe not. Maybe it's not best to call them at that moment, right? Especially like a crucial moment such as this, right? And so after that, he went to one of his lectures, and during the course of the conversation, he told his lecturer that this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to major in business now, and he wanted to interview all these people and then see how they made it in life. And then his lecturer told him that, oh, that was interesting because Steven Spielberg was actually coming onto their university campus like a week or two from there. And then she told him that if he wanted to meet this man, he would have to make a lot of research about the man, about his movies, about everything that he had done. Right? So that when he met Steve, he could catch his attention, you know, because this man basically didn't know him. So it meant that was a chance where he could catch his attention, right? And so he really put in the work. He learns a lot about this man. He poured over his books, over his movies, learns about what he had done, right? So that when he meets him, he can have that opportunity to catch the man's attention, right? And so this is where I stopped last night, right? But then so far it's been a really good book. And then I think that the reason why it caught my attention is that sometimes we may want to take the unconventional approach but may not know how to do it. And then Alex for this book says that this is the third door. People go to the first door, which is probably the conventional one. People may go to the second door. And then there's also a third door for people who really have not found their way in the first and second door, right? And I think that the lessons are really cool, and the fact that they are life lessons are really helpful as well. Yesterday, after reading the first 1 or 2 chapters or so, I actually googled him up, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the book. I'm going to share lessons with you as well as I go on. It's called The Third Door. I'll put the name of the author in the caption as well, yeah, so that if you want to check him out, you can definitely check him out. I mean, the more knowledge that we share together, the more that we can grow and then build better things together, right? So on that note, I wish you an amazing rest of the day.